You own a business and you're working in a CRM that's based on high level, or you're an existing M Suite CRM powered by Mickey Growth customer. Welcome. Today, we are going to learn exactly how to add a contact. We're going to go through a couple of different ways to go about it. There's several things that we can do when we interface with our contacts. And without further ado, let's get rolling. So, of course, as always, we are in our YouTube demo account, so you're not going to see a whole lot on the dashboard, but that is likely where you're going to open up to in yours. So let's go ahead from our dashboard on the very left-hand side to the main navigation tree. We're going to go to contacts. Go ahead and click there, and we're going to now load up our contact list. Now here we've got some test information already input. You may have contacts. This may be blank for you. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is make a contact. So in order to do that, we can very quickly, once we've navigated to contacts, the very first thing on the upper navigation bar for contacts itself is add contact. Go ahead and click that. Here, we're going to see all the information we can add about a contact. So we can go ahead and add ourselves here. We'll do first name Gary, last name Test. For the email, let's do info@msuitecrm.io. If we have additional emails, maybe we want to also make sure we contact them in some other ways. You may have a business and a personal email for someone. So let's go ahead and put in our support email to hold that. And then which one you put the blue dot on, that's going to be the one that's marked primary. So it's going to be the default mode of communication when you have more than one email. Now, the other thing you can do, I skipped over it, but we can add a logo. So if we have a company, we can put a company logo. If we have an individual and you have a headshot for them, you can go ahead and put that there. That might be helpful for maybe key individuals. If you've got VIP clients that you really need your team to know who they are when they see them in person, that can be more relevant to you. The other thing here then for phone, we can go ahead and select whether it's a home, work, mobile, or landline. I think it's funny they leave that in, but maybe you do have somebody who does still have a landline that's not a home or a work phone, I guess. I'm not really sure. Let's go ahead and put in, let's do work for this first one. And then we can go ahead and we'll put in, let's say it's a mobile, and we'll do perfect. So obviously here we've got our main line. If you've got any questions, please go ahead and give us a call. And then for the mobile here, we'll just drop in some sample data. Now here we'll leave the work marked primary, right? Maybe you have somebody's work, but then you also have their cell. You may not want your communications blowing up their personal device, but you do want to have it in your CRM so that we know if we need to get a hold of this person and they're not being responsive, we do have that other avenue to get a hold of them. Now, of course, we can add more phone numbers, just like we can with the emails, and we're going to go ahead and pick our default. Contact type. Here, we can make some selections. So it's really just lead or customer. So in this case, we'll put customer. We'll say that Gary Test is an existing customer of ours. We could also put that they're a lead. What I typically do if I have somebody who I know and work with actively, whether they are a partner, a customer, a employee, a colleague, a vendor, I'll call those customers. They're essentially one relationships. We've already won them over. We actively do something together. So I put them as a customer. Anybody else gets marked as a lead. So let's go with lead. Time zone. Now here, if you remember back to our video on our business profile, we may have selected to ignore all individual contact time zones, or we may have opted that these time zones can be selected. In either case, you're going to be able to select the time zone. However, it will not make a whole lot of difference if you've got the setting at your business profile that we're going to ignore these. So let's go ahead and find, let's say New York. That'd be perfect for us. So this person's going to be on Eastern time. Now our main account's also on Eastern time, so there's really no difference there. If, for example, they were on a different time zone, this is going to be really important, especially if we start telling the system rules on how or when to contact somebody, days of the week, times of the day, no contact times. It's going to be really critical for us. Now this last piece then is our DND. This is essentially our do not contact, right? So we can do all channels, which is going to say we're going to make this contact. They're going to live in our CRM, but we cannot reach out to them by email, text, or call or voicemail. It means we cannot make any contact to them. So we don't want to check this, right? Unless you have a very specific reason to. Now, you may have somebody who maybe they've requested, I don't want to receive text messages from you. Or you do not have permission to send them text messages. And we may very likely go ahead and DND for text messages. Now, what's nice as well, and we'll talk about this at a later time, when we set up automations for unsubscribe actions and things of that nature, if we have a universal unsubscribe from that client, then they'll be DND for email, but they may not be for the others. Now, that's crucial because if we did it up here, we couldn't contact them in any way. Our system will prevent it. But if they just want to unsubscribe email or just unsubscribe text, then we can track that here. So we'll go ahead and say we're not going to text this individual. Now, inbound calls and SMS, this is something that will happen where typically you'll manually set this, or you may have a spam automation that you create where you have an individual who maybe is harassing to your team, to your employees, has taken inappropriate actions, is otherwise blacklisted from the company. Then in that case, we may D&D all of our outbound, but we may also not want to receive any inbound communications from them. So if we have somebody who is aggressive, abusive towards our team, maybe we still want the ability to reach out to them. We're going to put them on our list so that we're not really doing it, but we're not going to prevent it either. But we are going to prevent all inbound messages because we simply just don't want to see their BS. And likely, we're going to just D&D the whole account then. So I'm going to uncheck that so we can get inbound, and I'm going to go back to our original setting of just this individual. Let's say we don't have permission to text them. They've not opted in with an affirmative yes to that. So we'll go ahead and hit save. Now, what will happen is it's going to automatically load the contact card itself. So we can see that D&D was enabled for SMS and only SMS, which is our text. We created an opportunity and it automatically went to the stage new lead. That's an automation that I've previously built into this account. The couple other things I want to point out here, name, last name, email address. We can see +1 that shows us that there's more than one email. The primary that we selected is the one that will show first. And we can see that's not verified. So depending on your verification settings, you can either manually verify it here, or when you send the first email to this contact, it will then go ahead and monitor whether or not it's a verified email. Phone, again, +1 because we've got more than one. Date of birth, we could go ahead and add this. Let's say this person was born, let's see here, we'll do today's date. Now, of course, I'm making a crucial error here. I'm going to go ahead and date a video, but I hope that you will forgive me in making that error. Maybe won't do today's date because my image is caught in there. We'll do the 6th. Perfect. So that's our date of birth. Contact source. Now, this is something that you may want to track. It's going to be important to you to keep straight who you've gotten a hold of and from where. So let's say that this lead is a family member, right? Or we might call that power base. Or if we're in the real estate space, we might call that sphere of influence. Right, so it's somebody that we already know. Now, I'm not going to leave all these in here. I like the term power base because that's what we call it in 10X. And then contact type lead we had previously selected. Now, as we go further in here, general information, we can put more details, right? So we can put in now a company name. So we've got M Suite, powered by Mickey Growth. We can put in addresses. We can put in zip codes. We can put in a website. So go ahead and put that in here. We've got our time zones also in the general information. Additional info. Now, these are things that we can customize, whether you've got various forms that people have input to, and then additional information you can customize. Now under actions, this is where you're going to be able to input more data into a contact. So we may have specific tags. So for example, let's say this is high priority. Okay, so now it's a lead and it's high priority. Well, this is crucial now because we may have automations that are going to operate based on this information. Our automations then, we can see, was in contact added new lead and was then automatically rolled into automated emails for lead follow-up. So this is an automation that this contact's going to receive based upon our previous preferences. Opportunities, this is going to show if they're in our pipeline. Here, new lead, business development pipeline. Again, that's an automation. This one was automatically added. So if you're worried about, I don't know how these automations work, I'm not sure what's happening here, don't worry. We will go through automations in depth. The vast number actually of our videos will likely be around setting up automations, how to use them, what are some really cool ones that we can get our hands on to make our system work the best it possibly can for us. Then down below under client portal, if you have courses that you want to offer to them, you would see those listed here. And if there's community groups you'd like to be them to be a part of, that's also there. And then of course, here's our D&D options for outbound, all, email, text, calls and voicemails, or inbound. And again, we can make all those adjustments. Now, I'm going to scroll this back up to the top here. This is the contact. On the company side, we can link them to a company, and the company can have its own information. Coming over to the right, we can assign an owner, right? So if you've got various users, then you can assign a particular owner in here. Maybe you want one employee in particular to be the account executive for this contact. Well, you can go ahead and do that. And then if you want other people to then follow this, maybe it's a team lead or a chief account executive, then you can go ahead and add them as followers here. Again, we can also automate all this. For phone, we can call them and we'll see both numbers show up, so we can make that selection. This is to mark unread all of our messages. Say we have a message, we've gone in, once we've clicked in here, we view it, so the system's going to mark it as read. You may want to say, nope, I need to come back to that, so I'm going to go ahead and mark it unread so it shows back in that category. And then filters, this is really nice. So this log here in the center will show, as we've seen, actions. It's going to show opportunity updates. It'll show text, emails. It'll show WhatsApps. It'll show phone call records, voicemails. We'll also even pull in social media messages. That's all set up in your account. So in here, we can go ahead and filter by various activities and actions to make sure that we're not having to scroll through tons of data, particularly for someone you've had a lot of communication, both outgoing and ingoing with. Now, other things that are going to be really crucial to see here on the contact piece, these are going to depend on your use case, but I find these to be so helpful. Activity is going to show engagements. So if they've booked an appointment with you, if they've hit a link, if they have engaged with some of your marketing pieces, whether it's email tracking, call tracking, link tracking for registrations, purchases, invoices, those things will show here. Tasks, we can go ahead and create a task, right? So invite Gary to lunch. All right, so we want to have lunch with this contact sometime next week. He likes Italian, right? So now we've got a quick note in there. We can go ahead and for the invite, I want this done by 11 a.m. today. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this needs to be done. And then again, I can assign it to a particular individual. So if it is for me, I may go ahead and just leave it unassigned, or just the owner will show, or you can go ahead and assign it to another employee if need be. So now we'll have this task. We can also set up recurring tasks, right? So prepare monthly invoice. Maybe we have a system where we are billing invoices based on activity used or projected activity. Then we can go ahead and set those. Must be sent by the 15th of the month. So we're going to invoice them halfway through the month. So we're going to mark this due on the 15th. And actually, we may even mark this one ahead of time for the 13th. So let's go make this due on the 13th. And then we'll make it due for the evening. So this is going to be at 5 p.m. So end of business day. But we're going to make this one recurring. So it's going to repeat. And then we can make some selections. Days, weeks, hours, months, years. We're going to do monthly here. And we'll just never end this repeat because this person's going to be a customer with us for a very, very long time. We're going to invoice them every month, which means I don't need an end date because I don't expect there to be an end date. Obviously, if this customer were to cancel, change their plans, we can always make the adjustment. But now those tasks will show here. Now we can also leave notes, right? So I think earlier I had said he likes Italian food. Right, so maybe that's our note here, and then we just kind of know, yeah, okay, cool. So this Gary character, he likes Italian, right? If you need to edit a note, on the 3 dots on the right here, edit or delete. I made a spelling error, so let's go ahead and fix that and hit save again. So that's our notes. Appointments. If we have an upcoming appointment that's scheduled, it will show here. We're also going to see historical appointments. Have they scheduled an appointment with us? Was it canceled, rescheduled? Is it confirmed? Did they show, no show? All of that can be controlled here. And you can go ahead and book additional appointments by hitting add. Now what will happen is it's going to find your linked calendars. We're going to cover that in a future video. And then it will automatically pull in availability. We can name the appointment. We can select our date and time. We can give it a status confirmed or unconfirmed. Maybe it's a placeholder, so we'll mark it unconfirmed. And then we'd be able to add the attendees and any internal notes. So all those will show there. If they book with a calendar link, they'll automatically pull in here. If you book in another format that pulls into that booking calendar, it will automatically show up here under your appointments for the contacts. It's a really universal tool. Documents, this is where we may upload. I like paper notes, so I will handwrite and then I'll scan those in and upload them to my system so I know what we're tracking or progressing with any given circumstance. So I go ahead and like to upload notes in particular here. You could be uploading, if you do a lot with contracts, signed final versions of a contract. You could upload that to the contact and say, okay, this is our contract on file. I know I've got it because it's in my notes, in my CRM, so it's all in one place for document management. Payments, past, due, and upcoming, along with the transaction. We can see if it's a one-time or a subscription. Any invoices or estimates we've sent out, we're also going to show here. So really great tool, particularly if you have a bidding process or if you have a lot of customers, a high volume, we're able to track all that into the individual contact level. And then the last piece here, associations. We can go ahead and associate them to various custom objects. So this could be, we have a custom object that associates them to a particular group. Maybe you use that as part of your tracking, or your sourcing for the lead or contact. We could associate them to various companies. We could associate them to various maybe product lines. If you have particular product lines you want to track, you can do that all here. And with that, that's about it for a contact. I know it seems lengthy. We spent 18 minutes setting up a contact, but it really is crucial to understand just how much you can do and access within a contact here. So with that, you should feel fully confident that you can create, edit, modify, and manage your contacts in high level. We'll see you on the next one, and hope you have an amazing, incredible rest of your day.